Good morning, folks. We are back. It's a day later. Same basic area. The story behind why we weren't heading into New York is very simple. Just had a chance to look at the area by way of Google Maps, and it just looks like a recreational boat launch area to me. I get that there have been reports through there, but just not feeling it. So back here today to do some follow-up work. Also a little irritated because the Mavic Mini has what's called an OTG cable and it's not detecting on the phone for some reason. Jesus Christ, there's not a good way to go through here. I'm just not having a good morning, so. The day has been kind of sullied by some mechanical failures, and it'd be nice to have a section of the woods that wasn't covered with like these blue lines either. Not a fan of that. I'm just not having a good morning. Not thinking straight here. There are some Bambi tracks going through here. As you can see, going through here sporadically. We are going to head down towards the wetland and kind of circle around there and have a look around for sign again, mainly just because historically most of the activity has been down here. But even if it has been lately quiet, but what else is going on? So, for all the derision thrown at Expedition Bigfoot for coming out that it's a dude ranch and all that, it's TV, you know? And TV is meant for a general audience, and something I've noticed over time is every time there's a new, Bigfoot themed TV show, and I mean, this is basically all of them: Monster Quest, Finding Bigfoot, Mountain Monsters, Alaskan Mountain Monsters, Killing Bigfoot, Expedition Bigfoot. Pretty much all of them are geared towards what's known as a television audience. It just seems like every time one of these things comes out, the community has this expectation that it's made for them, and that's never been the case. It's just not realistic. So, not really sure what to tell you there. So here's the thing for the day that's going to probably just kibosh the day for me if it does. I'm going to try to put the Spark in the air and have a look around. But if for some reason the phone's not detecting something there, then I'm going to basically throw up my hands with this particular phone. I've had issues with it over time, and I'd be lying if I said I hadn't caused myself to get a replacement through an act of irritation. By which I mean I did out in the couple years ago in the summer when I was in the Five Bogs area. This is the area where I found the electrical field, but even so, it's like the phone would just reset itself in the middle of nowhere, and this is obviously not productive. So it was still acting wonky, so I got a new one by way of, you have the insurance on it, so you file a claim after the other one has an untimely demise, because it's just that bleeping irritating. And this was, so wetland over there, we can see through the tree line. we're making our way along a particular stretch of the woods. But I've had some issues with this phone, so if I can't get this thing to work with the new drone, then it might be time for an upgrade where I go and actually do some research to see what it's compatible with. This, they basically told you when it was first coming out, load up the app and see if it barks at you or not, and it didn't when I loaded it. And the messed up thing is, 3 times in a row I had the thing in the air. I mean, I plug in the cable, the thing detected fine, and it was like out of the box, it worked perfectly. Put it in the air, did a flight test around the house, put it out away from the house a distance of easily, gotta figure out how to jump over this without getting wet. Trouble is, it got warmer today, so the frigid yesterday actually would have worked to my advantage. Today you can hear the running water, so we just need to find a crossing spot where we're not going to get feet cold and wet. And I put it out 2,200 feet away from the point where I was, which is pretty good. And now all of a sudden, yesterday, the phone wouldn't detect the cable, so I'm not really sure what that means. Yeah, we'll go there. It's frustrating, though, because I had higher hopes, and now it's not the drone, though, it's the phone. The one thing I would throw at DJI, unless there is a categoric way to fly it by way of Wi-Fi like the Spark, you've made it completely dependent on this cable, and apparently Samsung phones have an issue with that cable, and I need to figure that out or get a new phone, I guess. I wasn't really looking to, though, because new phones are needlessly pricey if you're somebody who keeps track of that kind of thing. And otherwise the phone works fine, but we'll have to figure that out. Anyway, we're going to cover some ground and cut this segment a little short. A little more shots of we're kind of paralleling the wetland again, and we'll pick it up in a bit when we're a little further in, I guess. Starting to get some background noise, probably just stuff falling out of the trees, but out of curiosity, if we're sharing company with deer or something, we're going to go take a look up the hill. If we don't slide on it's basically like crusty and a little bit icy, so hopefully that won't be a problem. There's enough texture to dig into for the most part, though, so it seems. So, where we are, just to give context, kind of going with the angle of the hill, on the edge of a small hill that is still near the same wetland, and up on the ridge here, that got real icy, careful there, is a mix of pine, laurel, things of that nature. And we're going to take a look. Excuse me. Sorry about that. And it's thick enough you can't really see very far into it, so I think we're going to go back down. And we're going to do that with care because some of that actually was icier than it looked. So, if I'm momentarily distracted, I ask that you bear with me because I'm going to try to do this kind of at an angle. Because this stuff in particular seemed like it was more icy than crusty. And nice overlook of the wetland though from up here. I have more than once thought this would be a good spot for an overnight like hammock kind of situation where you kind of blend into the woodwork down around dusk and then kind of see what comes by. Because if nothing else, there seems to be a fair amount of coyote, but the factor that causes concern though is in the summer you're not possibly going to run into bears in here. You are. This is a fairly bear friendly environment. What the heck is that? Interesting pattern found. I'm just going to show it for the sake of it, but if I'm getting this, I'll take a picture of it too. I'm not alluding that this is anything. It's just kind of a weird mix of maybe divots and or I don't really see any other tracks of the same size, so just kind of an interesting thing. But this will be my half-baked attempt to get a picture of it to throw out for opinions later with folks that are better trackers than I am. I mean, it could be anything, but we'll leave that there. And we're going to other than noises in the distance, though, the forest itself is pretty quiet today. So I'm going to go down to the water line down here and maybe take a break to get some photography done as I go by these two intimidatingly large semi-leaning over trees. And it opens up over there for a decent bit of photography. If that thing doesn't come down and crush me like a bug, that would suck. That would definitely suck. If you wanted to stay up for 1 sec, that'd be awesome. That, you would not survive that. Specifically, that tree like that. I don't know if the camera's doing it justice. That's the smaller one. And that one's probably a good foot and change around. This one's a good 2 feet around. So if that came down on you, you're probably done at that point. And a nice little bit of like these old stones on the cliff. But we're going to come down to the water line here and get some photography, which means we're about to take a break, just so I have best use of both hands. And we'll go from there. But we're going to take a break from here and determine our next move. Interesting day otherwise, but despite the technical issues. There's a lot of ground chatter, for lack of a better word. And you're coming from up in there, but with all the difference in the temperature in the last couple of days, trees start making noises. And what I mean by that, for anyone familiar with things like wood pops and things of this nature, difference in the temperature will make a tree's, I don't know what the right word here is, the inner pulp or whatever, expand and contract, and that can make noise not unlike a wood pop, which can be mistaken for a wood knock, although there is a slight difference in the sound. You got to kind of have to have been doing this for a couple of years to discern the difference. And even as I talk, there's an aircraft going overhead. Pretty low too, I'm wondering what it is. Oh, it's right on top of us. What is it? I can hear it, I just can't see it. So, oh well. Maybe not. But anyway, we're heading back this way, down the hill. A lot of little crackling things too, where bits of twigs or whatever are falling off the trees. And all that. So, getting back to Expedition Bigfoot though, having had a conversation by way of Facebook with one of the folks on the show, Russell Accord, I find it an interesting thing to ponder with them kind of having been outed at the Dude Ranch. Russell had made it known that he definitely wanted to do a second season. So with all the contrivity kind of out in the open, it is a curiosity to me how they intend to either walk that back, or if they actually do get a second season, then what are they going to do differently this time? Or are they just going to go through the same routine again, in which case I think that would hurt the show quite a bit, actually, from the, at least from the community perspective, because there's a lot of people out there that are all grumpy about it. But again, the community kind of needs to grow up when it comes to TV and things like that, because there's a couple of things that are true in the Bigfooting world. The first, TV, again, is made for a TV audience, not for us. And although the people doing the show are more than happy to exploit some of what we do, they're not doing it for our approval. And it's kind of silly and naive to think that it is. Or that they are, rather. That being one part of it. The other part is there's a whole lot of that kind of thing already going on in the YouTube area, because there's more than a few folks out there. Got an interesting quasi-structure thing over here, hold on, that are pretty obviously in it for the whole monetized YouTube Patreon route. They're making money, and that's what they're out to do. So, for the structure folk, there's this. I'll take a picture too for giggles. Okay. It's amazing how good you can get with your phone, balancing it in one hand and hitting it with your pinky finger. But yeah, so this. But we're gonna keep going. And it's kind of silly. I'll actually just realized that I'm taking pictures with the phone while holding the other camera, since you can switch modes and take photos with this camera as well. But then you got to stop, go the video, and that kind of breaks up the flow of my train of thought, if nothing else, rambling though it might be. You know, so there's a lot of that going on too. So there's a point in time now where people have an easier time to exploit the subject. And this is like, you can be somebody who hasn't even put a lot of time in the field, but just has some, pardon me, having a little bit of a, okay, having some part of a, they just have like a sense for marketing or a sense for the technology that's underlying video making and editing and how YouTube works and that kind of thing. And that can be good. That can be, like anything else, be used for good or for evil, or for Patreon greed, whatever you want to call it. But we're moving into a flatter area here, which isn't far from where the red spark had its first crash. But anyway, you know, these things are going to be there, and you know, some people are going to constantly crotch about it, and that it is what it is. But there's one of those snapping noises I was talking about. But other than that, I also kind of have the theory that a lot of folks that are like seriously pursuing it are kind of like underground and not dealing with the community these days, because there's a lot of toxicity in it. And there is a whole backstory to why some people don't like Expedition Bigfoot that has nothing to do with the show itself, but I'm not going to go into that right now. I don't want to delve away from the actual picture today. Hold on. Like literally things falling out of the tree making those noises. But no, I didn't want that. But I think we're going to probably end the segment here. I've got a couple of water crossings to do. And that's really all that's on my mind, and it's fairly quiet other than the odd Bambi tracks running through. So that's where we're going to leave it for now, and if something interesting happens, then we'll change our mind. But until then,